Hello, viewers from all around the world. This is the Melting Pot, Canada's first online radio talk show for immigrants. I am your host, Izo. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome, welcome, and welcome to the show. The Melting Pot Show is a show for immigrants by immigrants. On this show, we discuss, we learn about cultural issues, behavioral issues, educational issues, moral issues, and even emotional issues that affects the life of an immigrant. We strive to entertain, we strive to educate, and we strive to inspire. On the show today, I am not alone. I have a wonderful host. You like her face and her smile, and her name is Osa. She will do her proper introductions, but I just want to say that I like calling her name Osa. How are you, girl?
Hi, Isa. I'm good.
How have
I'm
you
very
been?
good.
How was your week?
Oh, it's been okay. My week was kind of busy, but it's nice because, I said I have family over, so it's been awesome having them around.
That's
Yeah.
great. So you have
How's your week
goodies
too,
from
Isa?
home, I think. Yeah, my week
Oh,
was good.
yes.
My week was
2 weeks
splendid.
ago, I mentioned that my family was coming into Canada.
Oh, that's awesome. God, I wish my own family would come, but it's all good. Maybe I'll draw strength from you and one day bring mine, bring my family here too. My mom, my dad, my siblings. Wouldn't that be the day? So my week was good. I had a
Oh,
wonderful
that would
week.
be awesome.
I did see something though. I saw a video. When was that? During the course of the week, the BC fires. Did you see that?
Oh, yes, the one at
I think
Kenola?
Kelowna,
No,
right?
sorry, I'm not
Yeah,
calling that right.
I saw it, and oh
Kelowna,
my
yeah,
God,
at British
yeah, the
Columbia.
videos were really so. From the melting pot, we are sending our best wishes to those in British Columbia, Kelowna to be precise. Um, we pray that whatever that has been lost, lives or maybe property, that somehow they would be able to recoup. I really hope that that will be the case. But in any case,
Yeah,
our best wishes are with you. So I'm going to dive into the
yeah,
issue for the
prayers up
day.
there.
Yeah. So I'm going to say something. So I want you guys to really listen. In the realm of marriage and immigration, the question looms large: is love enough to sustain a relationship, especially when they are faced with the challenges of moving to a new country? Countless stories abound of broken marriages in the immigrant community. And some people say that immigrant women, when they move to a new country and they get empowered, their marriages suffer. So on the show today, we want to find out, do you agree with that? Or do you differ? You beg to differ. You don't agree with that. So myself and Usas will be talking, and the topic is love enough? So Usas, I'm going to throw it to you right away. Is love enough?
Hey, Izo. Well, that topic is really very, very dicey, right? We are here to learn about that because I think I'll answer that question at the end of the show because I'm here to also learn and learn more from our special guests
that's
about
that's a
if
smart
love is
answer.
enough.
So it will not
So
just be
let's wait
myself
and
and
listen,
Osas
and I'll answer that
alone.
question after the show.
Okay, so it won't be myself and Osas alone. We have two guests in the house, and they would help us steer the conversation and give guidance on this subject matter. After the break, I'm going to introduce them formally. But before we go on break, remember, to be part of the conversation, you have to subscribe to our channel. We're trying to grow our base to 1,000 subscribers. It's at the Melting Pot on radio on YouTube. And you can like, follow, and share our Facebook handles as well. And also, this is a call in program. So you get to call in, and the lines will be open at 7:10. The numbers to call is 306 564 4961. We can also take your comments on the YouTube handle, so you can drop your comments if you don't want to call in. But we would prefer if you call in, because that way we get to talk with you and relate with you in a better way. We'll go on a short break, and then when we come back, we'll meet our guest and the conversation will continue. Welcome back from our short break. Our topic today is love enough? And to help us guide this conversation today, we have one of our guests as Dr. Dolakbo Conte. She's a mother, woman empowerment enthusiast, a mentor, and a content creator. She is a lot of things. I read your profile, and wow, I couldn't read all of them, so please forgive me. I just decided to handpick the ones that I could. And we also have a second guest in the house, Mr. Emeka Orji. He is an engineer, a father, a marriage enthusiast. You're both welcome to the show. Can you hear me? Dr. Conte, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you for having us.
And Mr. Emeka Orji, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Can hear you. Thank you for having
Fantastic.
us.
You're both
Yeah.
welcome to the
Thank
show. You
you.
both had so much to say about all the things you have done. So permit me that I didn't read all of them out. Uh, in short, I know this is we're supposed to be talking about love, but I have to give a bow because, man, I read, I was like, oh my God, these people,
Yeah.
they've done so much. So you're welcome to the show. We're going to dive
Thank
right
you.
into it, and I'm going to channel my first question to Dr. Conte. So I want to address what they say in English parlance, the elephant in the room. I know the topic is love enough? But before we dive into that, from your own definition, what is love to you? What do you define as love?
I think that's a very good question. Thank you so much for that. I would say, in the context of what we're talking about today, love, is called eros. That is the arousal love, the sexual love between a man and a woman that actually makes them to come together in marriage, that actually forms the basis of intimacy. There are actually four kinds of love. If you really look at it, you have the filial, you have the eros, you have agape, and then you have storge. Storge is the love you have for your sister, for your brother. Filial is the kind of love you have for everyone around you, for friends, relationships, and all of that. That's filial. Agape is the love of God, as it is in the Bible. But eros is that sexual love, that arousal love that actually attracted a man and a woman together to come together as a husband and wife, basically. So I would say love in the context of what we're talking about today is actually eros.
Thank you so much for that
You're welcome.
wonderful answer. And I'm going
Yeah.
to ask the same question to Mr. Orji. I hope I can call you Mr. Orji.
Mecca will do. Mr. Mecca.
Okay. Okay. So, Mr. Mecca, I'm going to ask you the same question. What do you think, or in your own reality, what is love?
Okay. Thank you again for having me. Full disclosure, everything I'm going to say would be purely my opinion. That opinion is, however, heavily tainted by my background as a Christian and as a believer. So my perspective comes from that point of view. So I think the love that I'm looking at, like Doctor said, is the agape love. Because having been married for quite over a decade now, I know that kind of love, the eros kind of love, it's not sustaining. It dies. The scriptures, which is my reference book, will always advise that men we love their wives, kind of agape, and that's the kind of love that I'm looking at. So that love is that commit. It's a commitment. It goes beyond feeling. It's a love that is backed up by a decision that you decide to go through, even when the feelings die, even when the feelings are not there. You stay put because it's a commitment. So that's the love that I am looking at. And if I'm saying if it's enough, that's where what I'll be looking at to say is this love as it is. And we can talk some more about the love later, but that's the love that I'm looking at. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Osas, I know you have something for our guests, so I'll let you go. Okay, Osas, we can get your audio at the moment. So I'm going to pass on the question to Mr. Emeka at this time. So you've already kind of jumped into the topic. So I'm just going to ask you straight up, is love enough? Mr.
Big
Maker?
question.
I like
Yeah,
the way
thank
you
you.
said, first of all.
I was
That's
hoping
good.
you
So
I
I
was
know
hoping
you.
you won't be yeah, I was hoping you won't ask me the hard questions. You will be asking the doctor the hard questions
Oh
and
my
just
gosh.
let me yeah, so to answer it straight on, I think it's not enough. Love is not enough. And we can go deeper later, but yeah, I don't believe so. Love is not enough.
Okay, so over
I
to
was
you, doctor. Yeah, I'm taking you off the hook. So over to you, doctor. Is love enough?
Same here. I would say love is not enough. Love is the foundation of most marriages, most successful marriages, but it's not the only ingredient that will sustain that marriage. You understand? So there's several things that happen along the way in every marriage, and that love is not just loving the person. It's not going to be enough to resolve, whatever issues that come up.
Okay, thank you for that. So,
Yeah.
if you listen to my synopsis, I said something, and that will lead me to my next question. So, oftentimes there's been this growing concern among immigrant communities that marriages that were hitherto okay back in Nigeria or wherever other parts of the world, they come to developed countries and then these marriages would crash. And so, my next question, I'm going to channel it to Doctor first, and then afterwards, Mr. Maker will really also want to get your own perspective on it. What are the cultural differences, and how is love understood across cultural lines? Is it the same way we call love in Nigeria that love is called here in Canada? If that is the same, why is it that when people come here, the marriage tend to get some kind of shaking? So over to you, doctor.
Thank you so much for that question. I would first of all like to say that cultural and societal expectations play a very great role in defining, the way couples interact with each other in a relationship, dating, courtship, as well as marriage. And it's very important that we recognize that these cultural differences exist. One of them, which we all know, which is very common, is the traditional gender roles that a lot of traditional economies, a lot of developing economies back home, they actually place more value on those traditional gender roles. Let me give you an example, saying that a man is meant to be the one to take care of the home in terms of provide for the home. Most of the time in African families, the man is the one that is the sole provider for the home. And the woman, you hear phrases like, his money is our money, my own money
Yeah,
is my own money. Yeah. So,
that's
those are
true.
the differences. That doesn't happen in Canada. In Canada, you have to come together as a couple. Each person is contributing something, a quota to the marriage, to sustaining in terms of finances and all of that. It shouldn't be one-sided. The society is defined in such a way that it cannot be one-sided. But in Nigeria, we're comfortable with the fact that the man can be the sole provider, and because the society allows that, and because men are also conditioned in those society to derive their values, from their abilities to be able to provide for the home. So it creates a lot of pressure if the man is not able to solely provide for the home. It's a different thing in Canada. Women have to work as well. Sometimes women are actually the sole provider in some families in Canada. Do you understand? And it's not an issue. So those are all the societal differences that you find. And the women are generally more empowered in developed economies like Canada. In terms of legal rights, women have better legal rights. They can decide to leave a relationship and still be okay. In Nigeria, you find that the man can decide to send the woman out of the house. That doesn't happen in Canada because the women they have better rights in terms of legal rights and opportunities from the government, to be taken care of in cases of separation. Another thing you find out is talking about household chores.
Yeah.
Over there in Nigeria, you hardly find a man, in the kitchen, cooking and all of that. But it's not a big deal here. Men cook, men do everything that is, considered to be the traditional gender role for women. Men
Okay.
do that. The same thing with women. Women can also do whatever a man does. And, it cuts across, different societies like that. So
Thank
those
you
are the
so much for that
differences.
response. I'm just going to
Yeah.
chime in. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
So during the course of the conversation, I might be interrupting. So I crave your
That's fine.
indulgence if I
Yeah.
interrupt. It's so that I have lots of questions to ask. So I don't want you to give all the
Yeah.
goodies. So I have to ask the question. So over to you, Mr. Emeka.
Yeah.
What do you think culture does? I say in cultural differences. How does that play into the topic of today?
Okay, thank you. I think Doctor has said almost most of the things that I think plays a role. Personally, I don't really think it's culture, though.
Okay.
I think what happens is um, there is an operating context that you have in Nigeria, all the things that she's described, duties, gender-based roles. Here, you have a new set of rules and challenges and playing field. I think it's the inability of couples to adapt to the changing game and the changing context that causes the problem. And so there's a scripture that I can tell you is Proverbs 24, verse 10. It says that when you fail in the day of adversity, the problem is not the adversity. It says your strength is small. I think that's what happens. You see, the problems that we have here as migrants is because we have failed to build capacity to be self-aware, to adapt to the new environment. Like, it's a taboo for a man to wash plates in Nigeria, right? But here it's not. You have to bring your consciousness to that reality that, look, this is a new environment. I need to adapt to it. So I think what happens is couples come here, they fail to adapt. And so that failure to adapt brings up the weakness in them. It leads to conflict. And then that leads eventually to separation, divorce, and the rest. It's not the culture. It's the, I hope you're seeing what I'm saying. It's the failure to adapt to the changes, to keenly discern where you are, to know that this requires a different set of rules and a different set of playbook. If you fail to do that, that's where you have problem. It's not the culture. It's that failure to change and adapt to your environment. So I think that's it. It's not the place, it's the people. That's where the problem
Okay.
is.
I have a question for Mr. Emeka. So my question is it that lack of adaptation is the real problem why love fails in some marriages? Because I will know, is there a difference from Africa or other cultures, and when they come to the Western world, is it because of adaptation? Is that the only reason? Is that
Yes,
the only reason?
that's not the only reason, but Corley, I see that because what you have to bear in mind, Ostaz, is this: truth is constant. It never changes. If love works in Nigeria, it should work here, right? But if there are challenges, the situations there, maybe in Nigeria you had house helps, you had two of them, you have a cook. Here you don't have, and then you expect your wife to still do the same level of work. That would be a problem. You have failed to adapt. It's not Canada that is the problem. It's your lack of awareness to say, hey, in this place, if I want my wife to be happy, I have to help her out. Right? So the problem is not the love, it's lack of perception of where you are and adapting your life to suit that. So the problem is not the challenges in Canada, it's the people that are failing to discern where they are and change their behavior and their support structure and their loving to match where they are. That's personal. Again, I said that's how I see it. That's where the problem is. So it's not the love. I think it's the lack of adaptation to where we are. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that answer, Mr. Emeka. I'm going to direct my next question to Dr. Conte. As a woman empowerment enthusiast, what role does empowerment? Okay, I'm going to paint a few scenarios. So we hear all these stories where a couple in Nigeria or anywhere else in one of the African countries will say, okay, let's move to the UK, let's move to Canada. My wife, when we get there, I want you to study nursing because the nursing career is like a cash cow. And the wife maybe was previously in the social sciences. She goes on to do this a course. Sometimes the man finances it, sometimes maybe she gets backup finance from the government or whatever, and then this woman starts to make money, and then after she starts making money, the dynamics of the home shifts. Now I want to put the question in twofold: how does empowerment affect the marriage of an immigrant? Is it that because the woman has more money, or is it because she's expecting the man to rise up to a certain level and that is not happening? How does empowering the immigrant woman affect the dynamics of a marriage?
Thank you so much for that, Hidon. I would just like to quickly say that for us, whether the man or the woman, there is always, your attitudes, your emotions, anything can change with the dynamics of marriage. When situation changes, you cannot really say how you will behave in certain situations until you are actually confronted to those situations. And that's why I actually agree with my co-speaker about the fact that, inability of couples are unable to adapt to different situations that come their way. So let's go back to the issue of empowerment. You understand that in developed economies, women are actually more empowered. I mentioned that previously. You find that women, have better rights and they understand that they have these rights. And there's also this thing about the fact that in Nigeria, they do not have, women rights are not being protected, or these laws are not being enforced to actually protect women. And these marriages that you actually talked about that were doing very well in Nigeria, I would say seemingly well. They were just doing, they were just surviving. Most of these marriages had failed before they even left Nigeria in actual sense. The only thing that sustained it was the fact that there was a power imbalance that was accepted by the society. The man is the one, practically taking care of the family, and he determines what goes on. He makes all the decisions, and the woman is forced to abide by those decisions. And what happens is that the woman just agrees to everything until they leave Nigeria, and then unfortunately they begin to recognize the powers that they now haven't been trampled on for a very long time, and they start to rebel. And that's what you see.
So let me chime in. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let me chime in. I'm sorry that I'm having to interrupt that, because you did say something that the men were the providers. They went out, they brought the ham. But you would agree with me that in Nigeria, there are cases where the woman is the breadwinner, or probably not the breadwinner, but earns the higher pay, and the husband not so much. But they still stick together in Nigeria. But if you find that scenario here, it's a different kettle of fish.
Yes, you said it. They stick together because the society abhors, you to leave your husband. It's generally not acceptable. You have to be together. So a lot of people would rather endure, relationships that they know that they should be out, abusive relationships, they would rather endure even when they are financially empowered. I have cases right now in Nigeria where, the woman is, just like you said, the woman is empowered. She could have left, but she's thinking, what will people say? I've been in this marriage for 20 years. I've been in this marriage for 25 years. I'd rather just endure all of this. You understand? But the dynamics change when they get to the US, when they get to Canada, when they get to the UK, because they start to see examples of women that actually stood on their own. And, it's a norm. It's not a big deal for you to be on your own and fulfill, have that self-fulfillment on your own in terms of career, in terms of taking care of your children, in terms of, doing whatever you want to do without a man. And there are actually women that are actually doing that. And, they seem to be admired by the society. There is nobody saying, it's not shameful to be without a man. So it's a different dynamics. And because of that, women take advantage of this. And this shift of power is the major cause of major, marriage breakups in developed nations, because it's not a problem to be alone. It's not a problem to be without a husband. It's not seen as a big deal. But in Nigeria, if you do not, because of the patriarchal nature of the way Nigeria is, if you're a woman, you can just imagine a woman that is a single woman, you're not respected. There's certain places where you cannot talk because you don't have a husband. All of that. We still have all of those nuances in Nigeria, and that is the major problem. And that deters women from, you find out that some women are in very terrible, abusive relationships in Nigeria, but they endure, they stay in these relationships. And then what happens is just let them cross over to the UK or Canada, and they're out of it.
And they're out.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I really like the fact that you went into detail. I'm going to pass the ball to Osas. I know she has a question for Mr. Emeka. Thank you, Doc. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Osas, over to you.
Yeah. So, Mr. Emeka, I have a question for you, because based on you're a Christian, and from the scriptural verses you have quoted, it says love is kind, love is patient, love is understanding. I mean, so why are people not really able to endure? Why, when they move from one nation and country to another, and they come to the Western world, why is the love not enough anymore? Because after love, what next?
Okay, thank you, Osas. Let me just say something about what the doctor said. And honestly, I'm one of the women enthusiasts. I like women empowerment, because I think society and culture where we're coming from did women bad, like the expectation. And I used to say this: when your daughter is 25, the discussions you have with her is about marriage. when she's approaching 30, you are concerned, but you don't do that with your son.
Yeah.
You'd be like, so women are always operating from a point of disadvantage. So I get that, and I understand that, and I advocate for women. However, I need to say this. You see, you need to, women need to be able to differentiate between who they are and what they have. See, the fact that you are a nurse and you earn money doesn't make you, it's still you. Do you understand? You're not, and that's where the problem is. Some women can't handle success. That's what is happening. So just because you're now a nurse in the US and you're earning $70 an hour, you're still Margaret. It should not change you. It should not change who you are. I think back to what I said before. Some of these things help to bring out our real self. You know, sometimes you may not know that you're a proud person until you have opportunity to be proud. That's where you show it. So, yes, women have been oppressed, but the opportunity you get for empowerment shouldn't make you lose yourself. You should still remain yourself, because who you are and what you have, they are different things. So let me come back to your question, Osaz. I think the issues are, like Doctor said, they've been there. It's just that they never had expression. If a man is unkind, he's always been unkind. He may not have expressed it. If a woman is not cooperative or submissive, she's always been like that. But now maybe the enablers are here. Here, women's rights are very much like, you can, in Nigeria, you can tell your wife to leave your house. You know, you can. In fact, you are the one that will leave the house. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So,
Thank you so much, Mr. Oji. We have a caller coming in, so we'd like to take that. It's our first call. Hello, caller. May we know you? What's your name and where are you calling us from?
Hello, my name is MM, and I'm calling from South.
Hello,
So this is a
MM. How are
very
you?
hi. I'm good. I'm good. I just thought to call in and ask, but it's a very interesting topic, and I want to ask, now that the couple have traveled and they are now immigrants, and to an extent, the woman has seen or perceived that she can actually have some level of freedom in Canada. How do you help, or how do you advise she controls that feeling? I don't know if you understand what I mean, because it's not easy, especially the way African, our African men behave. When they come here, it's like, oh, I'm still the head. Yes, I accept you're the head, but at the same time, also recognize that I also bring some kind of values to the table, because when it comes to value, our African men don't see it as anything. So please, what do you advise we women to do? Also, what do you advise the men to do? How do they handle these things? Should there be some kind of sensitization, that they have to experience before coming over to Canada? Because it's difficult. It's difficult. Thank you.
Thank you, MM. I'm going to pass this question to Doctor first, and afterwards, Mr. Emeka, you can also answer the question. Over to you, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Izan. I would quickly say that, for women, Mr. Emeka just, has said, some of what I would like to say at this point. And that's the fact that you need to understand yourself. You are not different. You're not a different person from who you used to be, despite the fact that back in Nigeria, you were not as financially empowered. But getting to Canada, you now have, you can control things, you can determine how much you want to spend. The man is no longer the one in control of the finances. You have better control, but you're still the same person that you are. Nothing has changed, and you need to realize this. And it's very important that we also understand the nuances of where we're coming from. When you understand the way a man thinks and the way a woman thinks, it helps you to forge that relationship forward. Like I said, men are inherently, they develop their values from what they do and their ability to be the provider. In situations where the man is not able to, have that financial control, For men that have insecurity issues, mostly, it's actually a problem, and they begin to manifest this. I've seen situations where men are, become very controlling. Some men actually go to the extent of monitoring their wives, snooping, trying to find out whether she's doing something extra at work, or maybe she's seeing someone else, and all of that. They start to get jealous. So you need to understand how a man thinks. And it's not at that point that you now start saying, oh, I'm bringing something to the table, so you need to recognize me. It's very important that, of course, you've set the foundation on love and everything. Everything has to be towards the purpose, complementing each other as husband and wife. There's nothing like because someone is the one bringing the bulk of the money, so the person has to control the other person. There's nothing like that. So it's very important for you to communicate and have, just have that in your mind.
Yeah, Mr. Maker, I'm going to pass it on to you also. Based on what our caller said about freedom, is it that these women didn't have freedom in Nigeria and they came here and like, yay, we are free? And then what's your take?
Yeah, it's a combination of a lot of things. Like if someone has been subjugated for a while and the person finds their freedom, sort of, they want to explore that freedom. So you would understand that that's why people would all of a sudden find their voice, they want to use it. And so that goes back to the men that allow your wife to always be herself. There's no competition between the man and the wife. We're different. No matter the level that my wife gets to, she's still my wife. She no longer, there's nothing that will make her become my husband. She's still my wife.
That's true.
So, yeah, so you need to give yourself that assurance. And Doctor is right. Some men, we're very territorial, we're very domineering. If it gets to a point where it's not even that there's a semblance of me, like you taking decisions without my input. I take it that you are now Lord of your life. You have taken over, so go ahead. So it calls for wisdom. It calls for wisdom to be able to say, I do have the power, but I will still be me. I tell you a quick story of a man who used to be CEO, and when he comes in, people are serving him coffee and giving him things. And after his position, his tenure was over, he came to the same office and nobody greeted, nobody served him coffee. And he went around and was like, hey, you guys, it's me.
Oh my gosh. Where's my tea?
Yeah, and they said, sorry, the person who was serving tea was not you. It was the CEO. The CEO was who was serving tea. So sometimes we mistake what we have for who we are. You are a mother, you are a wife. No amount of money can change that. If you can earn $2,000 per hour, you are still the wife of that man. So try to manage your success and don't let it. You have not changed. Nothing has changed. And men, please be content that your wife is still your wife. It takes a measure of self-confidence actually in men to know that your wife is now outshining you. In fact, if your wife shines so much, you can point at her and say, yeah, that's my wife. So but it takes a measure of self-confidence.
Fantastic answer. Thank you. Usas, over to you.
We have a question from Facebook. We have a question from Facebook. Somebody is asking, says he wants to know is what the Indians are doing differently from Africans. Like, why are their marriages not having the high rate of separation, divorce compared to maybe Africans? So that's the question. I'll ask Doctor.
Yeah, I'll first of all ask where's that statistics? And is that really true? That's the first question back to you. But then the second one is, if it's actually true, why is that so? I would say observing Indians, for me, at least a few ones that I've seen around, there's still this thing about them and their culture. They're so, embracing of their culture, both the men and the women. So if you watch, I don't know who has watched Madame Chatterjee and Norway. If you watch that film, you will understand what I'm talking about. Like wherever they go, they're still very attached, to that culture. But we are very embracing of the Western culture when we come here, and it's not for Indians. It's not really an issue. The woman doesn't really have to work, and the man still tries to
Next
to do
question.
all of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we saying that Western culture has a negative impact on our society, on our people coming from, Africa? Because, yeah, are we saying it now has a negative impact because the connotation is we are now facing Western culture and we are not embracing our culture? So is our culture negative? And which one is there any negative culture and positive culture in all of this? And I'm saying this because, yeah,
I won't say there's
Okay.
any
go ahead.
negativity. Oh, is that to me? Okay, I won't say there's any negativity, in any culture. Like each culture has its own good and bad, aspect of it. But a culture that subjugates women, which we have, back in a culture that, has subjugated women for very long time to the extent that women practically do not have rights. There's nothing attached to a woman's name, right? And we've said examples of all of this. People are in abusive relationships. They are afraid of leaving because even if they leave today, they lose everything. Some women even lose custody of young children back in Nigeria. So do we want to stay with those kind of do we really think those are the cultures that we want to perpetuate when we travel out to Western nations? No, I would say, it's a lot more like people are becoming more emancipated. When you talk about women emancipation, people are becoming more self-aware. But with acceptance of this culture as well, a lot of people are taking it, just like people would always take things to extreme. It's also affecting
Thank you
marriages
so
because
much, Doctor.
women
I'm
are,
sorry. I'm going to have to chime in again.
yeah,
We have a
no
caller on the
problem.
line. Hello,
Yeah.
caller. Can we meet you? What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is Olivia, and I'm calling from Regina. Hi.
Oh, hi, Olivia. Thanks for the call. I know you have a
Hello,
question.
Olivia.
Go ahead.
Yes, hi. Hi, Osaz. Hi, Hugo. Thank you for having me
Hi.
on the show. My question is specifically for Doctor. I wanted to find out, Doctor, like how does the support and the network of family and friends and having a community influence the decisions of immigrant women on how they navigate their relationships in a new society and in a new environment? You know,
Hmm.
because you find out
That's
that most
that.
times as immigrants, we travel, we don't have that support system when we come. You don't have anyone to talk to, you don't have friends, you're in a new system, and then you're grappling with all these changes that is happening. Maybe you're in a situation where you're doing things like you find yourself being a breadwinner in a home when it wasn't something you were doing at home, or you find yourself contributing to the family and the home. How are you able to, manage this new, new way of life, without your family and friends and people around you that you could trust, that you could talk to? That community support. What is your advice on how immigrant women can do this? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I would answer the question by saying that the world is a global village right now. And I can tell you for free that as much as possible, there's so much information out there. And there's so many resources that women can actually, use. One of them is, where we are right now. Support from groups, support from communities, but you find out that a lot of women sometimes are not making use of these opportunities because they like to deal with these issues on their own before things get out of hand, and they now tend to reach out to others. The world is a global village. Even if you're not in Nigeria, you have friends, you can reach out to them via phone calls. You can reach out to communities, you can reach out. There's so many female groups that are bound today, even on the social media. You can reach out to people and get the right support from them. I think most importantly is knowing when to make use of this, because there's also the bad side. There's also the downside of people reaching out on social media and getting the wrong advice from the wrong people.
Thank you so much, Doctor. If you're just tuning in, our topic for today is love enough? So It's a calling program. Please call in. Our numbers are on the screen, and you can also drop your comment on the Facebook and the YouTube handles, and we'll take your questions as they come in. So there's something I want to ask by extension on what she has said. She talked about community and how community helps. Now, a couple of episodes ago, we talked about fight language and love language as a understanding it in marriage. So if you're watching this and you've not listened to that episode, you can go to our YouTube channel and listen to it. But for the last 30 plus minutes, we've been talking about the challenges and then the issues. Now let us talk solution. If love is not enough, what else should make it enough? And how can couples understand their love language and fight language? Because again, if I use the same analogy I used the last time, this question is directed to Mr. Emeka first before Doctor. So if I use the example I used before, the lady that became a nurse and her marriage cracked, I'm very sure that lady, when she stood on the altar, whatever number of years ago, she did have it in mind that she was going to leave a marriage. Is it possible that it's not just because she became a nurse, but there were underlying factors that she expected the man to change, and then the man didn't change, and she was like, well, I have my money, so I can walk away. So how does understanding their love language and their fight language, the couples now, how can that help to make sure that even though love is not enough, they can add on other things that make it enough? Mr. Emeka.
Okay, thank you. Talking solutions now, I think two things I will talk about. The first is communication. I think people need to, especially women, one of the gifts of women is that they can talk. They really know how to talk. Yeah, so, and that's a problem. You see, communication is not talking.
Is a problem?
Yes, it's a problem. Because so
Oh, wow.
the thing is this. Yeah, so communication, if you study words, communication is from a Latin word, is communica. It means to make common. That is to bring, if there was something that was hidden, to bring out to a point where you can see what the person is saying. Most women are guilty of not framing their talk very well. So you talk and you talk down on the person. Talking down on the person, men naturally react. And this is something I always tell women, you have to learn how to talk. If you had a point to tell your boss, you don't just barge into the office and say, I'm going off, I want to take 2 weeks leave, approve it or not. You put your words in order. You make sure there's a pattern, there's a flow in it. Why do you not do that with your husband? Is it because he's your husband? Because you see, people are people. To get to people, you need to learn how to chronologically and logically put your thoughts forward. So one of the problems is communication. People don't know how to talk. My apologies again. Women talk a lot, and so some of them don't really learn how to communicate. And remember, talking is not communication. It is conveying something. That's one of the problems. The second
okay,
thing,
Mr. Emeka, we'll come back to you. We have a caller. I'm so sorry that I keep interjecting. This topic is such a hot topic. Everybody wants to know. Everybody wants to chime in. We have a caller. We'll come back. Just hold that thought. We'll come back to you, please. Hello, caller. May we know you and where you're calling from?
Okay, hello.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, my name is
Welcome to Melting Pot. Sorry, say that again.
Okay, I have a contribution.
Oh, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, so my contribution is this. I feel most people who come to developed countries and now find a crack in, and find out that there are cracks in their marriage, the crack didn't start from when they got to Canada or US or UK. It must have started way back home that they could not manage or handle, or they were not resolving their issues well, or they did not understand themselves so well. Because there are instances where, okay, back home, you just know that, oh, duties. Everyone just handles the marriage like duty, like a duty. The man is allowed to do what he wants and, sometimes shouts on the woman, and the society supports that, and the woman is not able to really, express herself or do anything about it. And even when, you're trying to like resolve it, if you even carry the matter out, people will always blame the woman and say, you are the woman, you should always know how to manage your husband, you should always know. So she may be bottling in, or vice versa. When I'm talking about the woman now, it may also be on the other way. But I think it's because most people are not able to manage or resolve their issues. So when they now come to this developed world, that their rules and the environment is different, they still the gap now widens. The inability to respect that, if the respect has not really been built, it now becomes more visible. If that love has not been grounded, it now becomes more visible. And so it's so easy to now, here, nobody to, probably back up what the man is doing or what the woman is doing. And so they just, go their separate ways. So that's my contribution. I feel that back home, a lot of marriages probably had cracks, before they even relocated. And they were not able to manage, their issues. They were not, it was just like, let's just endure, let's just manage.
Exactly.
But coming to the Western world, that gap now becomes more visible and
becomes more apparent. Thank you so much. I know you said your name at the beginning. Can you say it again? Because I don't think I got it.
IY.
Your name, please. IY. Okay.
IY.
Nice meeting you, IY.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your contribution.
I
Very
have to say
insightful.
something.
Go ahead,
so that this discussion is not skewed towards women, because it's like we're always talking women. Because I think it goes both ways. We shouldn't skew this to like it's the women that are making the love not to last because they are now empowered. I think if the man shows so much commitment also, because we're talking about love, is love not enough? Although in my opinion, I can say love can be enough if both, love flows both ways. If both sides are honest with themselves and they show love to one another, no matter the level, because there must be something that's making the woman move or shift from her commitment, probably, or even the man, it could be on both sides. So let's talk both ways. Why is the love shifting? Maybe
well
because
said,
the man that
Osas. So
comes
the
back
men,
late from work,
our male viewers. Sorry, Osas. I'm going to challenge our male viewers. Our male viewers, the lines are open. Call in, so that it will not seem as if only the women are talking.
Yeah.
So back to you, Mr. Emeka. I know that you were giving solutions. So you said healthy communication is one way that you can add to the love so that it can be enough. So what else? Also on the part of solution, what else can be added?
Yeah, so Osas, you can see there are 3 women and 1 man, so it's not balanced. We have to talk more women stuff. So it's the woman's world. So anyway, so I said communication, which is really about learning how to convey your message. It's very important. The second thing I think would help would be mutual respect. So I think mutual respect is very important. Sometimes
Mr. Emeka, I'm really sorry. I'm seen as the bad person in this show because I keep interrupting everybody. So I dared the men to call, and a man has called. So we're going to take it. We're going to take it and hear his own perspective. Hello, caller. Can we meet you, please? Hello, are you there?
Yes, please.
Hello, sir. Your name and where you're calling
Hello,
from,
good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, please. My name
Thank
is
you for calling. Ade.
I'm calling
Go on,
from
sir.
Saskatoon.
Okay.
Good
Go
evening.
on, we can hear you. Good evening, sir.
It's okay. Please, I want to make my own little contribution.
Yes, sir.
I've listened to all, virtually all your discussion, but let me start with the doctor. Doctor, I think one of the descriptions they gave her is an woman enthusiast, and I could see that too in our discussion. So I give it to her that yes, she's really projecting the aspect of women. But no, that's just by the way. Now,
Yeah.
seriously, what I perceive on my own is this. I was asking a friend, or I asked a friend recently, maybe 2 weeks ago, that because I knew him very well, and I asked him, I said, "So people like us have issue here in Canada? Because virtually everything they are saying they are doing here, we were doing it back there. If we want to say we are Christian, we are educated, back then, because I'm using myself now as an example, most of these things, is it washing of clothes or plates or this and that? Some of us were doing it. So if you get to the Western world here, it will not be a new thing. It's what you have been doing. So when you get here now, nobody is coming to say, oh, because you are washing clothes, it will be an issue. No. Now, talking about the women angle, I see something that we would like to describe as being paranoid. That's what I see in them. Pastor Emeka or Mr. Emeka now said something. We wanted to draw an analogy between Indian women and this maybe other African women. That why is this a rate of divorce or whatever? Why is it not prominent among the Indian or among the Indian women? Because they have one of them answered there that is a culture, but we have our own culture back there? We do. But when we get here, I've seen some of these people, maybe because of what you read, it has not even happened to you. You discover your elder sister or your elder auntie, this is what the husband did. You are wearing that clothes. And it's not your husband, it's not like that. So that is what I see in some of these women. Is your husband maltreating you? Some of them, no. He brought you from Africa to come and study whatever nursing here, and you have graduated. Instead of you to now, because you have read somewhere in magazine or you listen to talk where they say women in Africa, they are being harassed or they are being subjugated in Africa, that you don't want to live. And you are putting up an attitude. Those are some of the things I want us to see, that most of us, there are certain things you have you have to talk to yourself. Yeah, this is okay. We are traveling maybe to Canada or wherever, or to UK. This is the thing. We are still the same thing as Emeka is making us to know. I am still the husband. You are still the wife. A husband is not a boss. Wife is not servant. Once all those things are settled, you can go in peace.
Sir.
And of course, love too. Love will play his own role. And may God help our marriage. Amen. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you so much, Mr. Day. Thank you for your wonderful contribution. Producer, do we have the go-ahead to go beyond 1 hour? Because this conversation, we've not even scratched the surface. I think I see that the men are energized now, so hopefully more will call. So over to you, Mr. Emeka. Go ahead with your initial conversation.
Okay, thank you. So I said the second thing would be mutual respect. So in a relationship like that, it will be important that we respect each other. And what should we be respecting? You should respect the person. Remember, I talked about being the person. Respect your wife as a person. Don't talk to her anyhow. If you respect her as a person, you don't condescend, you don't bring her down, you don't talk down on her. Also, as the wife, you respect your wife as a person. Talking to people, if you have that respect for just being a person, just being a human being, give that respect. It helps. Some people don't want to hear what you want to say. The mode at which you're addressing them is not, you are not talking to them as you're talking to someone of value. The second thing, respect you should have, it's on the contribution the person has made. So yes, you are a nurse now, you're making money, but you are not always making money. Somebody was helping out before. Can you appreciate that? Can you respect that? The past is past, but the past brought us here. can we have some respect for the contribution that somebody has brought in? Another thing you think you can respect is the opinion. Respect opinion of people. See, everyone has a right to an opinion. Don't always say your opinion is final as the man, that if I say that's what we do. Like, and that's part of the problem as men. Like, if we don't listen to our wife, and most of us don't, I've been a victim too, where we'll do something and my wife will say, let's do. I say, let's forget it. You will not do. What is that? You know? And then later it will come back and I'll be like, oh, you were right. Even though I'll say it grudgingly. Like, but we need to learn to respect the opinion of others. Sometimes we used to think that people can't hold opinion, and that's wrong. People have a right to hold opinions. And if it's your wife, you have a right to respect that opinion. So let me stop here so that I don't. But I think these two things, there are other things, but these two things are really important. They help.
We're going to pass it
sure
on to Doctor. Doctor, I know you have solutions as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much for
you.
that. Once again, thank you. And I would like to say once again that Eros, love is not enough. What you don't work on will depreciate. Marriage requires a lot of work. And first of all, one thing I will say is marriage is two willing parties coming together and they are committed to making the marriage work. It cannot be one-sided. Only one person cannot do the work. So both partners have to be committed to staying together. And I would like to digress a bit that anything marriage, it has to start during courtship. Those decisions to love each other, to stay together. Marriages that are enduring today, those decisions started before they got married. And it was not just taking vows, they decided that come what may, we would walk this journey together. And we would raise the storms together. Not one person saying, oh, there's an issue, and then the first thing you think about is how to get out of the relationship. So back to solutions, I would say the very first thing you need to do is to understand the essential nature of marriage is commitment. You need to be committed to that marriage. First of all, if you're not committed, if you're looking for another way, plan B, it is not for you. Just forget it. You're not there has to be that full commitment. It's two people coming together, each person bringing his 100%. You're not bringing 50%. One person is bringing 100%, the other person is bringing 100%, and it's two old people. Both of you have to be old. So that the lady, first of all, you need to have an inner soul search. Acknowledge your faults in, making the marriage go the way it has been in the past, and ensure that you develop that self-awareness. Go on a self-discovery, journey of self-discovery. Most women want to derive their, emotional satisfaction from a man. A man cannot satisfy your 100% emotional satisfaction. He's not your God. So you have to understand this first of all. And then you have to forgive. Because what is happening is that there's a lot of unforgiveness. Women are hurt, by whatever has happened back home. And then they're now in a position to pay back. And then you want to pay back. And then you want a marriage. You're not going to be in a marriage. It's not going to work. And as Pastor said, there's a need to communicate effectively. Women, I agree, we do not communicate effectively, but it's also important for both of them to understand that they are different. Just as Pastor has understood, that is the nature of a woman. A woman would always want to talk, and in talking, they actually talk too much. Do you understand? But you have to get to a position, you have to seek knowledge, understand how a woman thinks, understand how a man thinks. So when you see certain things, they will not be a shock to you. And then you're able, and just like you talked about love language, understand your love language, understand how you tick. That helps you to communicate effectively. And then when you're communicating, you're not saying, you're this, you this is what you do to me. You're saying, this is how I feel. You're communicating. You're not trying to be insightful on the other party, so that you're able to reach a truth. And then you're looking to solving the problem. You're not looking to make the other person a devil, because in every crisis, every one of you, there's always, each of the parties always have a fault. So you need to have that in mind. And then you also need to choose a winning attitude. If somebody has recognized his faults and is working at making things happen, you need to acknowledge those little steps that have been taken. You need to acknowledge those things that he's doing to make things, even if he's not the one providing for the home this time. He used to do it, just like Pastor said, he used to do it in the past. At some point in time, when things were okay, he used to do all those things. But now he's not being able to do those things. And he's trying in his best possible way to make you feel good. And you need to appreciate all of that. Same thing goes for the man. You need to appreciate your wife, for all the little sacrifices around the home. Whatever the woman does, you need to appreciate all of that. And be genuinely committed to your spouse's physical, emotional, and career growth. This cannot be over. If you love somebody, you are committed to the person growth. Why are you angry that she's climbing the career ladder? She's bearing your name. I can't imagine my husband angry that I'm Dr. Conte and I'm making waves. To him, it's like, man, that's my wife. Like, that is how it's supposed to be. You're not in competition. You're meant to
Yeah.
complement each other as a couple. Why are you competing? Why? I'm just wondering, as in, maximize your differences, embrace them, embrace transparency. And then a lot of people, because of those cultural nuances, what your mother has told you, what your grandmother has told you, that men are like this, please let all those things leave. Marriage is a union of two people, no third party. Leave all those advice that is given to you by one auntie in the village or whatever, that your money is your money. Don't let your husband know how much you are earning. Please, we are now in the 21st century. There's a need for transparency in marriage. There's a need for openness in marriage, as long as you are with the right person. If you are with somebody that is abusive, I will not ask you to stay in that marriage. And that is a topic for another day. But if both of you are totally committed to the marriage and you want to make it work, you need all those ingredients that I've mentioned.
Thank you, Dr. Conte. In fact, I was going to take you up but towards the end, I like the way you try to balance it. Yeah. Nevertheless, I would still comment, because I would still say we tend to skew a lot on women. The responsibility on the shoulders of a woman is so much when it comes to relationships. I feel it's not fair. I feel that there are some marriages that what we complain or what we comment about the women do it is even the man that is the problem. I know there's no 100%, there's no saint or devil, but sometimes the women, some men are the ones that they talk too much in a relationship. I mean, they are the ones that are very verbally abusive, verbally oppressive. I mean, there are situations where the man doesn't give a damn about the woman. He goes out, he's infidelity is the order of the day. He's authoritative. He's so controlling. In fact, he's a male chauvinist, or whatever characteristics you want to call it. So we're saying the women, he brought you, you are now earning money. It's not only about earning money. It's not only about career. There are so many things that happen in relationships, and it's fault of the man. Because my personal belief is, if the man loves the woman enough, the man, we say head of the home. Well, yes, but if the man loves the woman enough, he should be able to handle his home in a way that things don't go out of control before they are balanced up, right? So the responsibility of things balancing up shouldn't be only on the shoulder of the woman. The man should also know that, I'm in charge here, and if something is going wrong, what is happening? He initiates the communication. Okay, my dear, my love, what's happening? I think we are misunderstanding. There are a lot of relationships that are working out because the man is also taking charge and doing the right thing that should be done in that relationship. So I think we should focus a little bit on the man's responsibility to make things work. Yeah. What can the man do?
Mr. Emeka, I see you laughing. I know you have a comeback from that, so I'm going to give you the floor. Go ahead, sir.
It seems like Sister Osas is the real woman defender here. So so every relationship, when we analyze it, there's never one side that is at fault only. So you can be at fault by what you do or what you didn't do. So it's like that. So one of the things actually that makes marriage work is mutual responsibility. Mutual responsibility is that everyone has a role in the relationship. For example, I think the man is the head, but being the head means you are the leader. They say the buck stops at the table of the leader, right? So that things rise and fall with leadership. So one of the responsibilities, one of the shared responsibilities, the man has to lead the house. In fact, when I talk with some of my friends, if you have a wife, unfortunately you are married to her, but she doesn't listen, you take it as a training ground. It's just one person that you have to learn how to manage. It's a project for you. If your wife doesn't listen, you are in a training ground where you deal with people who don't listen. How do you get across? So the question is not to say, my wife doesn't listen. You throw your hands up and say, I can't go ahead. Let's go our way. How about you change perspective and say, what do you do to people who don't listen? Because trust me, when you go to work, there are staff that will not listen, and you can't sack them, especially in Canada. You have to learn how to get across them. So how do I lead my home? Again, I refer to the Bible, and I don't know how you people started calling me pastor because I did not
I
introduce
was
myself
wondering
as pastor.
too.
Yeah, I don't
How
know.
you
I was
became a
wondering too.
pastor?
So, yeah, so,
Maybe one of your
so,
congregation members called.
The Lord is calling you, sir.
no, let's leave that talk. Let's one of the things in the Bible. One of the things in the Bible is that if a man wants to be a leader in the church, he has to learn to lead his house well. It means where you do training for leadership, proven leadership is to lead your home first. So every man must see that issues getting out of hand in your home is a personal indictment. I'm not saying you're going to have a good wife that will be good all the time, but how to manage your wife is your responsibility. The second thing that's your responsibility is providing for the house. I don't care how much you're making. There are things, it must be seen, even if your wife is earning more than you, let it be seen that you are taking responsibility for your home. The things that you can't do, you can appreciate your wife for helping you, but helping and taking care of the home is your responsibility. The woman also has responsibility to support. You have to support your family. You can't say your money is your money. That's not, like I said, you didn't get, before you started earning the money, somebody was there for you, right? To get you to this point. So help in the way that you can. Don't use all your money on yourself. That's selfishness. Again, these things are, like everybody has agreed on it actually, that these things are just, this environment helps to bring the hidden things in us that we didn't think were there before. It's easy to think you're not covetous until they put you in a place where you can have money. You can say you can't do this. No, you haven't been in that environment. So this is what this is exposing us to, that we have not really done well. We have not done well. These things is just helping to amplify our faults and errors. So shared responsibility. If the man, like I know personally, taking care of my home is my responsibility. I don't ever look at what my wife earns. My wife supports me. If we do it like that, it goes back to what Doctor said, it's mutual commitment. Everybody is putting in their 100%. If you're earning $20 and your wife is earning $60 and your $20 can be seen and accounted for, your wife will be happy. She will see that, look, you're doing your best. It's just that it's not enough. And she, most likely, your wife is not so that bad. And if she's bad, learn how to get across to her. Right? Same thing with
Thank you
husband.
so
So
much.
yes, Sister Ostaz, it's not always one-sided. It's two, both sides have to be in it together. But I think one of the things that
Definitely.
help is that a sense of mutual responsibility.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. You said
I
some
agree.
very salient points while responding, and we really appreciate that. Just to recap, because we've come to a point where we're talking about solution. So just to recap some of the things that our guests have said as solutions, since love is not just enough, they talked about healthy, effective communication and mutual respect, unwavering commitment, seeing the best in each other, celebrating the small wins, male and female, and like a mutual responsibility. I would like to add on here, because I don't want somebody to come on the comment section to say, why are we attacking nurses? it's not only about nurses also. We're just using that as an example. It can be
Example.
from any sphere of endeavor.
Yeah.
I know that once women get a higher position, people tend to say, but I kind of feel that there was a fundamental issue before
Of course.
that crack became obvious when the woman became more financially stable. So the calls keep rolling in. This is a hot topic, I tell you, as hot as my red dress. So we have another caller, and we're going to take that. Hello, caller. Can we meet you? Your name and location, please.
Hello, my name is Bumi. I'm calling from Southampton.
Hi, Bumi. Go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not a question, it's just a contribution to what the last caller said, and I also want to tie it up to what Dr. Conte mentioned. So the last caller spoke about this paranoid thing, but somehow he attributed it more to the women, and I also want to draw the attention maybe to the audience and also to the speakers that this thing about being paranoid is not a gender thing. I listened to Doctor and she mentioned a very salient point, which is about men becoming insecure when the woman is earning more and they see her as a competition. I've listened to some women here and even back home in Nigeria. It is not even an issue that is peculiar to just immigrant marriages. Even back home, when the woman starts earning more and then the man feels so insecure and sees the woman as a competition in the marriage. Now, apart from being a question, apart from being a contribution rather, how do women deal with this kind of situation? Now they've seen themselves in this kind of marriage. Suddenly they start earning more and the man seems to be very insecure and kind of competitive, maybe because of the things he has heard from what is happening around that, okay, when the woman starts earning more, she becomes kind of domineering or controlling. So everything is seen as she's trying to be proud, she's trying to be rude, even when she's just expressing herself like she would on a normal day. And then the woman becomes like in a bondage of her own success, like she can't even enjoy her success or enjoy her success freely because she needs to rub the man's ego. I'm very sure I'm speaking the mind of some because I've had a lot of women reach out to me on this. By virtue of my position and my profession, I've been able to deal with some issues of separation and divorce even back home. And these are the issues, these are the underlying issues that we deal with. How do women deal with this kind of issue? And to my dear brother and pastor, what do you have to say to the men folks when it comes to issues of insecurity, issues of their wife's successes? How should they manage it? How should they react to the success of their wife? How should they support their wife? I just wanted to shed more light on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bumi, for the call. How do I do this now? Should I go to pastor first or go to doctor? Over to you,
I think Mr. Emeka should answer
yes,
this.
Please. Before the show ends, you'll become a reverend. Over to you, sir.
Okay, so there are a couple of ways of looking at it. I'm sure you've heard this saying, justice must not just be done, justice must be seen to be done. It means perception is very important. When you deal with people, you have to understand that it's not just what you're doing, it's how you're doing it. So if, for example, a man is insecure and you are earning more than him, and really needed a car, and you go and buy a car, and he comes home and he sees the car, the first thing typical African man will be like, okay, so you are running your own show now, Abi? Yeah, like you're your own, okay, no problem. You are buying your house, small time now, you even move out, Abi. So it depends. You have to understand that you're dealing with people, and that's what I said about communication. Again, I refer to the Bible, and maybe that's why people are calling me pastor. You know, one of the rules that God gave us, he said when Samuel went to anoint people in David's house, he said, men look at the outward appearance, but God sees the heart. Sometimes we assume people see our heart and forget that people only see what you project. So sometimes if you're dealing with people, you need to learn how to project. So if you are a woman and you earn more than your husband, it's a call to be more circumspect. You have to learn how to deal with the man because men are naturally egocentric. Any small thing can trigger the man. So to assume that the man will understand that he sees your heart, nobody can see the heart. So that's one mistake that we make. We said, but I didn't mean it now. I just send money to my people. No, that's a very good thing, but you need to learn. You are now in a position where you need to manage your actions. So that's one. But there are some people that are just naturally, they are insecure, that there's nothing you do. All you can do in that instance is to do your best. Do what is required, carry them along. When I used to work in Nigeria, I have a colleague that his wife works with Shell, and he worked with us, and the wife earns like 10 times more than she earns. This woman has learned how to manage her husband. In fact, if she wants to buy something, she will tell the husband, help me to buy it. And he will now say, why will I be buying everything for you? You go and buy it. But she's passed the message. So when you see it, you are not confused. Most women cannot do that. But you need to learn that people that you're dealing with can't see your intentions. Nobody sees intention. It's your actions that they see. So you need to learn how to communicate because this is your husband, right? And for men, again, it boils down to what I said before. No woman's success should threaten you because you're still the man. You're still who you are. The job will come and go. Both of you at some point will be back home retired. You are no longer an MD, you are no longer a nurse, you are no longer a lawyer, you're my wife. At that point, we will still live our life. So, in fact, one of the ways you can know the value of a man is how successful his wife is. Because remember the name husbandry, like to tend to something. One of the
Yeah.
roles of the man is to help to mold your wife. Because again, most women sacrifice their ambitions for the home. It's the duty of the man to help guide his wife to fulfill destiny, to be the best that she can be. So actually, if your wife is not doing well, you haven't been a good husband. If a man, and if your wife has more than, if what she has is in demand that she can be the best, it's to your credit. You helped her get there. Do you understand? So, and that wise
Thank
woman
you
will
so
know
much.
that if not for me, if not for my husband, I won't be where I am. So let's balance it. The
Fantastic.
woman know how to approach things. Husband, help your wife to be the best that she can be because it's actually part of your job. And don't be threatened because her position doesn't change the dynamics of who you are and what you bring to the table. So that's my
Thank you so much.
response to
Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
Mr. Maker. The producers graciously gave us an extension, and we're fast running out of it, so we have to wrap up the show. So we're going to have closing comments from both of our guests and from my co-host Osas. Dr. Conte, 1 minute closing remarks.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for having me once again. I'd like to reiterate again that love is not enough. Much more than love, there are other ingredients that would make a successful marriage. And it takes two people for a marriage to work. Both of you have to be committed to making the marriage work. In situations where you have, imbalance of power, that has to be managed effectively by effectively communicating with your spouse. Nobody can know what goes on in your mind unless you talk about it. Have these conversations with your spouses and see how to walk through it together as one. Avoid having advice from external people that will not do well for your relationship. Seek counseling from the right kind of people and try to ensure that you do everything possible to salvage your marriage. and ensure that the partner also has that same willingness to walk through the marriage together with you. So that's it from me.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. Emeka. Final words.
Okay, I just want to advise couples out there, with the exception being where there's abuse or where there's other clear case where you have to separate. Please know that the decision to separate, the decision to live apart may look like it's convenient, but it is not. It has ramifications down the line. Um, and personally know that your inability to manage your situations is it's not a good thing. There is if both of you are already in this union, like Dr. Conte said, put in the effort, the commitment to make it work. You see, anything that anybody wants to succeed in, especially if it is totally committed to, they make it work. Put in the efforts to make this work. Divorce might look like it's good now, but eventually you'll find out that it's really not what it is. There are other things that come with it. It's better to keep what you have than to try to get what you don't have. So you have this man, if both of you are committed, if both of you want to make this work, you can make it work. Um, don't compare yourselves with others. You don't know what's going on in their marriage. Somebody has worked out. It's not a template for you. Make yours work, because if both of you are committed to it, you will make it work. And finally, learn to appreciate one another. Learn to appreciate one another. You are not in competition. You are there to complement each other. Appreciate one another. I found out that this part of the world we hardly get commendation. We don't appreciate our wives, we don't appreciate our husbands. Let's learn to appreciate one another. There's a lot of stress here with family not being here, with a new culture, with people that we can't really say, in the Canadian workplace, we really can't be friends the way we used to have in Nigeria. Your partner is your only person that you can be friends with. Please learn to be friends, appreciate one another, and make this work. It's better to make it work than to go your separate ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Emeka, for those choice words. Over to you, Osas.
Well, now I'll answer your question, Izor. Is love enough? Yes, from what we have all discussed today, love is not enough. We need a lot of other attributes. Although love should have been enough, but we need to grow it. And it needs commitment, it needs hard work, it needs, you have to be intentional about everything you do in a relationship. Go back and think what made me love this woman or what made me love this man and agree to marry him or agree to start a relationship with him. And when you have discovered that, try to make it work. Everybody, our guest speakers has said it all. And I want to encourage homes out there, our viewers out there, work on your marriage. Let's not use on over some little minor issues that can be resolved, that can be worked upon to like just call it quit. Just still work on it, because when you have a marriage where children are involved, you know that we still have these things has impact on these children too. Having a separate home. Remember, even our prime minister, I know he's going through a lot right now, his wife and his family. That was one of the things that really started this discussion, because they had recently separated. So, and I know that it's not really easy. Nobody gets separated and is, I don't think emotionally it's draining. So I think I want to encourage all our people out there, try to make it work on everything, seek counseling, seek advice from the right people. And I know that with all efforts put in, you will get the right result. And our men, please help our women, support them, not only financially, in the home front. Women need support in taking care of the kids, in washing dishes, in washing clothes, in mopping up the homes. Support them. When you are supporting the woman with all this activity, she will love you, she will appreciate you, and she will continue to like stick with you. I know our women out there want this.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your wonderful contributions. I hope that our viewers, you've learned a thing or two from today's topic. I'm not going to start going into all they said because they've said it all. I just want to thank everyone, our viewers, for tuning in and staying beyond 1 hour with us. I want to thank those that called in. I want to thank Emma. I want to thank IY. I want to thank Mr. Ade. I want to thank them. Those that dropped their comments on the Facebook comment section, we appreciate. I also know that someone was calling in. I'm really sorry we can't take that call right now. You can drop the comment on the YouTube handle, and then we'll reach out to you with an answer, or even if it's a contribution, you can also drop it here. I want to say special thanks to the producers for making us look good, making us look seamless. Also, always remember that to be part of this conversation, you have to be part of our subscriber base. We want to grow it to 1,000, and it is at the Melting Pot on radio. You can go to our Facebook handle and like, share, and follow. We want to thank you all for tuning in. I would like to leave you with what I always leave you with. Oh, before I do that, I have to thank our guest. So I will start with Dr. Conte. Thank you so much for all the wonderful contributions, and they were very
Yeah.
insightful and straight to the point. Thank you very much. Mr. Emeka Oji, aka Pastor. Thank you for all your contributions. We really appreciate everything
Yeah.
you said. And from us, it is bye for now, but I'll leave you with what I always leave you with: life is for the living.
Mark, let's
Bye.
remember we want to
And
shout
oh,
out
yeah,
to, yes.
Marina. I'm so sorry, Marina, if you're watching. I totally forgot. Today is your birthday. She was one of our guests on the last show. Today is her birthday and anniversary. Happy anniversary to you and happy birthday. We pray that God will continue to enrich you with goodness,
Yeah.
with good health, and with prosperity. I will say it again: life is for the living. Bye, everyone. Bye.